Greetings to everybody. Welcome to the literature reading session. We are reading from Talks on the Gita by Vinobha Bhave, and we are reading from the chapter Surrender to the Divine. Before this, I wanted to share some thoughts from Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda says that you need steadfast devotion to the chosen goal, to the chosen idea. So, whatever you chose as your ideal or as your goal, we need to have steadfast devotion towards it. And according to him, devotion happens when the being attains discrimination and it is devoid of passions. So, the two qualities he describes for devotion is having such clarity and no passions. And he says that with purity, with practice, we arrive at sacrifice. We work upon ourselves. There is purity and there is strength and the balanced state of joy. But he emphasizes on one word that purity is the bedrock, the foundation upon which the whole devotion building rests. Purity is the foundation for devotion. And also, he gives a very interesting view to this word ahimsa or non-violence. He says non-violence means absence of jealousy. So look at what are the qualities that we have to work upon ourselves and how beautifully our great masters have given techniques to us to arrive at these states of purity. When he says devoid of passions, devoid of jealousy, where we have to arrive at discrimination, all this is possible with our point B cleansing and point A intentions. So this interesting twist, the meaning of non-violence means absence of jealousy, just blew my mind away. He says a real devotee is one who has no jealousy. That means he says a man whose heart cannot cherish even the thought of injury to anyone. You can't even imagine to hurt somebody, and who rejoice the prosperity of his enemies. Usually people are jealous when somebody is successful or somebody is able to express better than ourselves, somebody is living a better life. So in their own ways, they try to put that person down. And that is a reflection of their own jealousy. And Swamiji says that it is violence, ahimsa. So if you want to practice ahimsa, non-violence, we have to get rid of this aspect of jealousy from us. And also, he says that kind of a being is a true devotee. A man who cherishes even the thought of injury to anyone, whose heart never cherishes to hurt anyone, and who is happy for the prosperity of others. And he calls such a man as a devotee, and he calls him a yogi, and he is a guru. And that is what we observe in our own master. When we compare to our peers, in whom we observe jealousy. But when you are successful, your master is very happy. If you become rich, he is happy. If you are performing good, he is happy. That is why he is a guru. Because this nature of Non-violence is in him. And also, Swamiji says external practices of purity that religions thrive upon, it has no value. Only that which helps develop this inner purity is to be practiced. And that is what we do in our heartfulness method. We strive for this inner purity and we use all the techniques that are given by the great masters. That is why we use the power of intention. Even the entire spiritual work is based on power of intention. An intention made with attention, awareness. And that's what transforms us, and that's what transforms others. And he also mentions that those who are mentally weak cannot become a true devotee. Because we all assume that, in devotion we cry. Yes, it is good to a certain extent, but too much of this crying will not help us cross this seventh point. We have to become mentally strong also. And that's why Swamiji says those who are mentally weak cannot become a true devotee. And the qualifications he gives for a true devotee is a cheerful mind, and that has the nature of perseverance. That is a strong mind. And such beings with the strong mind and purity are true devotees. Strong mind and purity becomes the foundation for true devotion. So these are all qualities that we need to understand what our great masters of the hierarchy are saying, are sharing. And from that, we have to introspect, examine ourselves, and try our best to arrive at that. This weaknesses exist in all human beings. It exists in me, it exists in you, it exists in everybody. But why are we reading the literatures of the great masters? So we can introspect, we can examine our life. A life without self-examination is not a worthy life, says Socrates. So we have to examine ourselves. And when masters are giving clues like this, because sometimes we think that, oh, I am a non-violent person, I am a good person. But there is very fine qualities that make us qualified to enter the divine realms. And if we don't know them, we don't strive for them. Until I read Swamiji's book, I didn't realize that non-violence means absence of jealousy. I didn't realize it. So now we are more careful, we are more cautious. And coming to the Karma Yoga that we are reading, even Guru Nanak Ji talks about this action or karma. He says, think a great deal before we act. All our great masters said that, think twice before you act. Because Guru Nanak Ji says, before the Lord, one is tested. That is, before we enter into the divine realm, we are tested. If we can survive that sacred, pure vibration. And each is ranked by his glance. And he says in a poetic way, in this realm of divinity, the raw is sifted from the ripe. That's the word he uses. The raw is sifted from the ripe. He says that one who is raw, who is not complete, will dissolve away. And he says, he who disintegrates before the divine is raw. That means falls apart. You're not whole, you're not complete. And who he remains complete, integrated before him is the ripe being. So that is why even Guru Nanak Sahib says, always ask yourself before action. And this is what our Dibiyat Daji said, pause. And how do we arrive at this ability to pause? Because it's not easy for us to pause. The words just come out of ourself. Our mind is so active that it just starts to act, think. That is where our meditation helps, where our master says thinking to feeling. If we develop this mind, train the mind to come to this state of feeling. What is the state of feeling? That is the meditative mind. As said by Patanjali, Seth Patanjali said that it is Dhyanaja Chitta, a mind that is meditative. The mind that has ability to feel is the mind that can pause. So Nanakji says, ask, will I feel right to produce this act before the master? When I'm having such negative thoughts about a fellow being, or jealousy thoughts, like Swami Vivekananda says about a fellow being, will I be able to stand in front of my Lord? Will I be afraid to show him that self of mine, that I shove it inside the darkness? Daji once said that, we shove our weakness under the carpet, and facing the dark self is part of the journey. You have to face your own weaknesses. You have to face your dark self so you can work on it. Not to beat yourself up, not like saying, oh, I'm such a bad person, because every human being has these. But they're encouraging us. They're giving us courage. What does encourage means? Encourage means they're giving us courage to face ourselves and say, this particular technique works on this. Work on yourself. Give the mind the sankalpa. This weakness is leaving you, and you have no attachment to it. So the message is received by the Guru's consciousness, and the vibration produced because of this prayerful feeling of longing to transform ourselves. It, it creates a vibration in the Guru's consciousness, and that vibration shifts our neural pathways, and we start to change. And then we are the ripe beings to face the divine, and we are not scared of any tests anymore. And for this, Guru Nanak also uses an example that a goldsmith tests the gold before he does anything. If our action passes the test, do it with easy mind. So we have practiced all these techniques with our best intentions and best capacities. And when we face the Lord, they're not looking at how much you have really transformed. They're only looking at how much effort you have put in to let go of this weakness. So at that moment, because for the master, he said that when somebody went in front of Lalaji, he said, Acha, like, is that so? And the weakness left. They have the capacity to release us from that. But they're looking at, are you willing to let go? That is why in the weakness, the technique is given such a way that we are saying this weakness has left me for good. I have no attachment to it because I am attached to my own jealousy. I am attached to my weaknesses. So when we are working on our weaknesses, we are just showing our willingness to the master. Yes, I am aware of this and I am working at it. Now it is your grace that removes it. So the effort is what is important. So he says, when you truly ripen to face the Lord, Nanakji says that you get hints of this inner sound. What are the hints that we get? We are more peaceful, we are happier, and we feel joy, and a profound contentment envelops inside our being, and you are grateful. And bliss actually dances softly in you. And you feel that in your condition. There are days that you wake up and you are so happy, and there are days that you wake up and you are not so blissful. What is the difference in those 2 days? When we are not waking up blissful from our meditation, and that is giving, the heart is giving a sign that something needs to release from you. So that is the time we introspect. When you wake up, what are the days that we wake up joyfully? When you see your master in the dream, you wake up joyfully. Why? Because your heart was pure enough for him to come visit you. This is the state of ripeness. That is the readiness to be in front of the divine. That pure heart. which is what devotion is all about. So, we continue to read this chapter on surrender, prapatti. Why is man so devoid of joy that he seeks and finds some sort of momentary and illusory joy in the dance of those lifeless figures? Because we cannot find joy within our own heart, we are trying to find joy by looking outside things. Evidently, there is no real joy in life. That is why people go in for such artificial amusements. Once I heard drums beating next door. On inquiry, I learned that it was to celebrate the birth of their son. Now, what is there so special about it that it should be announced to the world with the beat of the drums? People even dance with joy and invite singers on such occasions. Is it not childish? It is as if the world is famished of joy. Just as in famine people rush in frenzy at the sight of a few eatables, they jump at the slightest opportunity, like the birth of a child or a movie or a circus, because they are starved for joy. So, what is Vinobha Bhave trying to tell us? Saying that we haven't experienced the real joy. But is this true joy? Waves of music enter the ears and strike the brain. Different forms enter the eyes and strike the brain. The impact of such sensations is the only source of joy for the poor beings. Some stuff their noses with stuff, some smoke tobacco, and they get kick. Thereby is a source of tremendous joy to them. Their joy knows no bounds when they lay their hands on a cigarette. Tolstoy has written that a man may even commit murder under the influence of these intoxications. Why does man lose himself in such pleasures? Not knowing the real thing, he is infatuated with the shadows because we haven't tasted the real chocolate, so we are craving for the ordinary mundane chocolates. And this is what, in the heartfulness method, the Guru does in the very first sitting is divert our thought flow to the soul and give us a taste of the soul, the real bliss. So now we are craving for the real joy rather than the mundane joy that's available in the external world. The man's pleasures are confined to those derived from the five senses. Had he got a sense organ less, he would have thought that there are only four types of pleasures. If tomorrow a man with six sense organ comes down from Mars, such people would feel dejected at the thought that they can have pleasure only from five sense organs instead of six, and envying the man from Mars, they would explain what a handicap we human beings on the earth suffer from. How can man with just five senses comprehend fully the meaning of creation in all its aspect? Restricted to five senses, he makes his choices within those limited limits and derives joy from what the senses offer him. He considers the braying of a donkey inauspicious. But is it not possible that an encounter with a man could be equally inauspicious for a donkey? You think that its braying will spoil or harm something that you are going to do. But is it not true that you could also be causing harm to others? When I was a student at Baroda, a group of European singers once came to our college. They were good singers and were trying to do their best, but I, being thoroughly bored, was waiting for an opportunity to slip out. I was not used to listening to that sort of music. I could not appreciate it. Singers from our country may face similar response in Europe. What is sweet music to the ears of one is just noise for the other. It means that the joy it gives is not real joy. It is an illusory joy. Until we experience real joy, such illusory joy would enthrall us. So long as he had not tasted real milk, Aswadama used to drink water mixed with grain flour, believing it to be milk. This was Arjuna's guru's son. They were so poor that his mother used to mix some flour with water and give it to him, and he used to believe that that is milk. And later, once he tasted the real milk, he developed hatred towards the students of Dronacharya. Once the true nature of things is revealed to you and you experience the true joy therein, everything else will pale into insignificance. So, what is Vinobha Bhavaji is trying to tell us? Like how what our master does to us. When he gives us the real taste of the soul, the real joy that you experience, then suddenly you realize what a time that you are wasting in the material joys. You don't find joy in the material things anymore because you have tasted the real joy. Devotion is the best way to discover true joy. As we advance on this path, we shall discover the ingenuity of the Creator. Once we have grasped the divine vision, attraction for other fancies will recede. Once you have tasted divinity in its essence, you lose interest in the other things. Then nothing trivial will attract us. You live in the world, but you live in the other world in your heart. The whole world will then be found filled with one undifferentiated joy. There may be hundreds of sweetmeat shops, but the sweets they sell are of the same kind. So long as we have not tasted the real thing, we go on picking a sweetmeat here and a sweetmeat there like restless sparrows and still remain unsatisfied. Once I was reading Tulasidasa's Ramayana in the early morning hours. Moths have gathered near the lamp. A house lizard came there. What interest could it have in the Ramayana? It was happy at the sight of the moths. I waved it away when it was about to pounce on the moth. But its attention was still riveted on that moth. I asked myself, would you eat a moth? Does your mouth water at its sight? The sight of a moth was not mouth-watering for me, and the house lizard had no inkling of the great joy in the Ramayana. It could not taste the sweetness of Ramayana. Our condition is like that of the house lizard. We are engaged in a multitude of enjoyments, but how nice will it be if we could taste the true joy? The Lord has shown us the way of devotion as the means to taste the true joy. The Lord has mentioned three kinds of devotees. One who has desire for some worldly gains, one who is desireless but whose devotion has not blossomed fully. The third is the man of wisdom, Jnani, whose devotion has blossomed fully. The second type consists of three subtypes. The one who has not blossomed fully, one who is restless and impatient for divine grace, the seeker of the knowledge, and the seeker of well-being of all. These are different branches of the tree of devotion. A devotee with desires in mind prays for some gains. I would not despise such devotion, considering it inferior. Many people take to social service to earn name and fame. What is wrong in it? Give them honor unreservedly. There is no harm in it. That honor would eventually settle them in social service. They would begin to find joy in their work. Why, after all, does a man desire recognition and honor? It is because he is thereby convinced about the utility and the excellence of his work. One who has no inner yardstick to judge the worth of his service depends on such external yardsticks. When a mother pats her child, the child gets enthused to do more work for her. This is also true for this type of devotion. Such devotee would straightway go to the Lord and ask him to give what he wants. To make demands on divine for everything is no ordinary thing. It is something rare. Jnanadeva asked Namadeva, will you accompany me on a pilgrimage? But why go on a pilgrimage? Asked Namadeva. Jnanadeva replied, we can thereby meet a number of saints and ascetics. Namadeva said, "Let me ask the Lord." He went to the temple and stood before the Lord, with eyes riveted on the Lord's feet and tears flowing down his cheeks. He asked, "O Lord, should I go on a pilgrimage? Would you call Namadeva an idiot?" Not a few people are anguished by the separation from their wives, but a devotee who weeps at the idea of going away from the Lord is out of ordinary. Because of ignorance, he does not seek what he ideally should. But even then, his devotion is not to be dismissed out of hand. We will stop here and continue. Some beautiful ideas on devotion are given to us by our master. We are reading from Talks on Gita, Vinobha Bhave,